what if one of the most famous assassinations in history was not carried out to save Rome, but to open the door to a slow and painful collapse? On the morning of March 15th, 44 BCE, when Julius Caesar walked toward the Senate, everyone present knew he would not walk out alive. So how did the most powerful man in Rome fail to notice the daggers waiting for him in the shadows? To understand this assassination, we must see Rome not merely as a city, but as an idea, a system, a promise, and a fear. Rome was expanding. Its armies swept across continents. Every new territory strengthened Rome's power, but also intensified the rivalry within. Senators grew richer, the population swelled, and the poor became desperate. In the midst of this turmoil, Julius Caesar rose. Although he came from a noble but financially weakened family, he possessed brilliance, powerful oratory, and relentless ambition from his youth. Soldiers adored him on the battlefield, while the political arena responded with both admiration and envy. His 8-year campaign in Gaul granted him a power Rome had rarely seen: immense wealth, a trained and loyal army, and the affection of the entire populace. But these gifts also created a great threat, because in Rome, a single man with too much power was the death bell of the Republic. The Senate grew uneasy. Rivals plotted, spread rumors, and launched smear campaigns against him. But Caesar did not stop. And one day, he stood before the Rubicon River. Roman law declared that crossing it with an army was an act of war. But Caesar uttered only one sentence: "The die is cast." And in that moment, Rome's destiny changed. Civil war began, and when it ended, the victor was clear: Julius Caesar. Rome was now Caesar's Rome. The Senate could not stop him. The soldiers were loyal to him. The people saw him as a hero. But as power grew, suspicion grew with it. The Senate viewed his honors with alarm: a golden chair, statues and temples, his face on coins, the title of dictator for life. Rome had never seen anything like this. For centuries, Romans had despised even the word king. To them, a king meant the end of freedom. Thus, the conspiracy began. At first, only a few whispered, but soon the whispers multiplied, because deep inside every senator was the same fear: Caesar will become a king. This fear brought two names to the forefront: Brutus and Cassius. Brutus, the symbol of the Republic. Brutus was known for his nobility, wisdom, and honor. Romans respected him deeply. Merely hearing his name brought silence. One of his ancestors had overthrown Rome's last king. This made Brutus a living symbol of the Republic. His relationship with Caesar was more complicated. Caesar treated him like a son, supported him, and raised him. This made the assassination both harder and far more meaningful. Cassius, the poisoned mind. Cassius was intelligent, politically sharp, and quietly consumed by hatred for Caesar. He felt humiliated, believing Caesar's successes overshadowed his own worth. Cassius spent days and weeks convincing Brutus. He spoke of the Republic's demise, reminded him of Rome's values, and eventually, Brutus agreed. With Brutus's involvement, the conspiracy exploded in size. It was no longer a small group. Dozens of senators swore an oath to stop Caesar. The conspirators planned meticulously. Who would strike first? Who would distract him? Who would lead him into the chamber? Every detail was reviewed again and again. As days passed, tension thickened in Rome. Meanwhile, Caesar was preparing for a grand campaign. He intended to march east and claim new victories. If he left and returned triumphant, no one could ever remove him from power. Thus, the assassins were running out of time. They agreed on one date, March 15th, the Ides. Caesar was unusually restless. A soothsayer had warned him clearly, "Beware the Ides of March." Calpurnia, his wife, had a terrifying dream that night. Caesar's body was pierced, covered in blood. She begged him not to go. Even the temple priests reported dark omens. The sacrificed animals showed abnormalities. Birds behaved strangely. On the morning of March 15th, Caesar did not want to rise from bed. A heavy feeling pressed upon him, as if an invisible hand urged him to stay. For a brief moment, history could have changed. But then Decimus Brutus arrived, a trusted friend, and the most dangerous conspirator of all. "The Senate awaits you, Caesar," he said. "If you do not go, you will appear weak." "Everything is fine." Caesar hesitated, and then stood up. As Caesar crossed the city, the streets were quiet. When he approached the Senate building, the senators gathered to greet him. The chamber was vast, the marble floor cold. Shadows of ancient victories lingered on the walls. The conspirators encircled him. Each man pretended to ask something different, a favor, a question, a petition. Then Casca approached from behind. A moment of silence, and the first strike landed. At first, Caesar did not understand. "Casca, what are you doing?" he shouted. But the other daggers were already raised. Cassius lunged. Brutus stepped forward. One senator after another struck. Most could not even aim properly. Daggers hit flesh, fabric, the floor, everything in confusion. Caesar tried to escape, but the crowd was too tight. His foot slipped. Blood spread across the marble. And then he saw Brutus, the man he trusted most. When Caesar met his eyes, he stopped resisting. He pulled his toga over his head and let himself fall. He died at the base of Pompey's statue, the statue of the man who had once been his greatest rival. The conspirators believed they had saved Rome. They expected the people to cheer them. They thought the Republic would rise stronger than ever. But nothing unfolded as they imagined. The people flooded the streets. Anger erupted. Chaos consumed the city. Caesar was not seen as a tyrant, but as a martyr. At his funeral, Mark Antony's speech ignited Rome's heart. The crowd was moved so deeply that the conspirators fled for their lives. And then a new power emerged. Octavian. Caesar's adopted heir. Quiet, young, unassuming, yet destined to unleash a storm across history. This storm would give birth to the Roman Empire, and the Republic would never return. The very system the conspirators sought to protect died because of their attempt to save it. The death of Julius Caesar remains one of history's most dramatic moments. One man's fate reshaped a city and a civilization. This story forces us to confront a question. Did they kill him in the name of freedom? Or were they prisoners of fear and ambition? In Rome's marble corridors, echoes linger still. The daggers, the footsteps, the whisper of betrayal. And rising from the shadows, one final question. Who was right on the Ides of March? Subscribe for more history mysteries.